And welcome everyone to day 3 of Purpose to Profit. Amplifying that which is good, that which is meaningful, that which you choose to amplify over all the noise that is getting amplified by fear and anger and overwhelm. And so whenever you're listening to this, you know that that kind of energy, that shadow energy is what's here to be transmuted. And that's our job. Our job as awakening spiritual women, rising in the divine feminine frequency, that's our job. Because if we watch the news, they're not going to do it for us. If we watch politics, they're not going to do it for us. They're going to amplify the fear that's already in their minds. We've already seen that happen. They're going to amplify what they are inside. And if you've been doing the work, and chances are you wouldn't be here if you're not doing the work, then you get to choose what it is you want to amplify. Yes, those things are there and we feel them. The more that I shed my conditioning, I feel more things. But that means that I get to be ninja at feeling them, because not everything is mine. Some things belong to the collective, and I am a part of that collective. Some things are from the past. And so we've been on this journey, really 18 months of a journey with this Taurus Scorpio axis that has really had us rethink what we value. Rethink our money. I mean, the whole world's going through an incredible contraction on money. And I go like this and then like that, because we all know, those of you who have birthed the baby, right? It's like contraction and expansion. Or if you haven't birthed a baby, which I have not, but I have had cramps, and it's like, contraction and then expansion. And so that's the oscillation that we've been in, and we are concluding that. And so this series, Amplify Your Purpose to Profit, is a part of how do we own our own truth, our own energy, our own magic during this incredibly intense time, and then make choices about where we want to put our attention. And where do we want to make money, and how do we want to make money? It's a totally new world. And I keep getting present to this. So it's worth saying that the past cannot come with us. And I'm always surprised, because I say that and I know that. And then I will say, oh, well, I used to do it like this. And then I'm like, it's the past. It can't come with me. So completely new codes are coming in for how we are going to live our lives. And they're coming in through our embodiment. So if you were on day 2, let me know, what did you take away from day 2 yesterday about the particularity of your template, of your embodiment? Yesterday, we talked about purpose being the embodiment of your radiance. So we know that our purpose is in our bodies, because the light is in ourselves. And as we allow more light, then that light shines through our bodies, through our beingness. And that is our radiance. And that is the thing that attracts, that magnetizes to us. And so as we let go of the things we thought that we should do, or the things we thought we should be good at, or the things we used to be good at and we used to do, this eclipse is wiping the slate clean and asking us to come back into our bodies. And what is true now? What is true for you now? So let's open up the space. Double down on the challenge, love the money and values connection as usual. Yeah, we're going to have a money conversation today, but it's it's not an ordinary money conversation. It's a money conversation connected to our purpose, to our values. And that's what's been worked over the last 18 months in some area of your life. And we'll get into that in a moment. So let's open up the space. And then I'm going to presence what's going to happen today and then also tomorrow. Tomorrow's our last day. It's not part of the challenge. It's the eclipse activation tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you why it's important that we conclude in that way. So today, right now, let's get into that conversation, but opening up the field. So wherever you are, I just invite you to open up the energy from your heart center. And I like to put my hands like this, but you can raise your hands like this and receive. Close your eyes, or you can put your hands on your heart center, whatever is feeling right to you as a doorway, a portal. So we call upon our higher selves. We call upon the divine feminine archetypes who are here to support us in sourcing our power and our strength and our wisdom during this time of incredible change. We honor all that we have been through. We honor the hardship. We honor any of the upheaval and turmoil that we have personally been through, that we have witnessed others going through, that we have experienced in the collective, witnessed on the news, and we just honor the magnitude of the chaos that must ensue to create a new order inside of us, and consequently, a new order outside of us. So we call upon our original template, that archetypal original us. Each person has one. That archetype that lives in the imaginal world of possibility, that is not static, that is dynamic, that is constantly moving and flowing with us as we are in this embodied form. We connect to that archetype. We surrender to that archetype. We let go of whatever it is that is not us, that we may be tempted because of our conditioning to want to have or want to be or compare ourselves as. And in this space, we simply relax into what is. And as such, we ask our higher selves to speak to us, to activate new codes of awareness toward our dharma, our purpose, our mission, and our money. As we explore that today, may we have ears to hear and eyes to see. And so it is. And a little bow into the center. Yeah. So I was mentioning in the prayer that there is this concept in mysticism that there's an original template. This comes from actually the teachings of Yeshua in the what's considered as the esoteric teachings, the Nag Hammadi texts in the Book of Mary Magdalene. And there's an original template of you. And that's kind of why when people cross over, there's still a recognition of their individuality, even though there's oneness. So they coexist. We are one and everything. We are nothing. We are everything. And we are in this particularity as a template. So there's said that in that realm, there's this archetype, this original you that exists. And when things don't work out here, it is said that it's because we are not aligning with that original you. So yesterday in day 2, we talked about some of the ways that our differences come out. They're called keynotes from the I Ching that come out through our embodiment, and they represent the endocrine system and the elements of earth, fire, air, ether, water. And you may have identified yourself as some of those energies. And that shows you a little more about what's true for you. Oftentimes, our mind has so many ideas, so many thoughts, so much stimulation. And what we're really here to do is our unique path. And the path of discovering that is an archetypal path. So we made a little headway yesterday, and today we get to take that a little further as we talk about how do we get into our mission. Now, our mission is not our purpose. Our purpose is the embodiment of our radiance. Our purpose is to live well, to live in alignment with that original self, that archetypal self. And by the way, that's not a static, like a fixed image. It's dynamic. So the worlds are interacting. That realm is interacting with you, and you are interacting with that realm. I find that quite exciting. And so that's where the world of possibilities exists. That's where the world of magic or miracles exists, because it's non-linear time. Here we're subject to a bit more rules, a bit more density. But as we awaken, we find that we have access to that other realm. And the world at large doesn't have access to that because it has blinders on. It can't see it. It has no eyes to see or ears to hear. Whenever I am in a breakdown moment, I pray. And here's something important for you to remember. I pray for a shift in my perspective. Because the truth is, I don't need to beg God or goddess. There's none of that. That's from the lower density. I just need to shift my perspective to remember again, to see again. So let's get back onto our distinction of a mission. The mission is the thing that you do, that you want to do here and now, not the thing that is your purpose. And I love the distinction of that. And I just made up that distinction. Other people can call it different words. So for the sake of this conversation, that's what we call it, your mission. So what is your mission? Take a moment to write down your mission, as much as you know about your mission. What is it that you're feeling called to do? And the keynotes from yesterday will give you a clue about how you do your mission. For example, if you're a one-line, you're not going to want to do it in front of the computer, right? So we get to tailor. This is the uniqueness of what we're doing right now. We get to tailor our mission to fit us. And we have to do that. It's important to do that because that's our shakti energy. That's aligning the energy of which things will respond to you. So write down your mission, put it in the chat, #replay if you're joining me on the replay. This is just a chance to anchor. Now, it doesn't have to mean that you're a coach, you're a healer, or you are a visionary leader, anything like that. It just is, what's your mission? I'm going to give you today, so the rest of this teaching, maybe about another 20, 30 minutes or so, the rest of this teaching will have some practical advice. But I'm not going to go too practical on it because really this week is for a lot of letting go. So we're starting to see through the veil as we let go of more and more gets revealed to us, even in the final days of this eclipse. Like today, I just got a call from someone saying, yep, I can't help you with this thing. And I was like, wow, that is surprising to me. But then I realized so much is being let go of. So it's an auspicious time to surrender to that, to let it go. So we're really in a letting go conversation. And so I'm going to presence a couple things for your monetization, but we're going to pick the conversation up on March. I mean, did I say March? Really? On November 9th. And we're going to have a masterclass called Sovereign CEO. And in that masterclass, I will go deeper into the mechanics of monetization. I'd just love to have that conversation with this before it, because the energetics always lead, always. And the mechanics serve the energetics. So the mechanics are important because otherwise you waste a lot of time. And if you want a simple process, that's what I will teach you, how to simply get into making money as a coach and healer. So that's the model I'm working with. But here, this conversation is broader and it won't go so much into those details. So I'll drop a link. If you feel called, you can join me on November 9th. And if you want to get a VIP session for the day after, I'll be hosting like laser coaching the day after. So I'm excited about that. I love to help people with practical things and get into their business and make stuff happen. And at the same time, today we're in a different frequency. Tomorrow, we're going to conclude with the lunar eclipse activation. And what came through as I was preparing for that is that this is going to be a Venusian activation tomorrow. So at 12 o'clock my time, I encourage you to come be live, wear green, because Venus loves green. Couple assignments. So wear green or wear something beautiful that you feel beautiful in. Tomorrow is her day. So Venus is celebrated on Friday. That's Venus Day. So I encourage you also to make an altar for Venus, because Venus has been ruling Taurus, and Taurus has been in this conversation with Scorpio over the last 18 months. The nodes already switched, and now we're in the Aries Libra nodal axes. But our north node was in Taurus and south in Scorpio. And I just had my nodal return. But it's this eclipse that actually ends that cycle. I'm excited for that ending, because what this Taurus Scorpio axes did was reboot through putting you through the washing machine and the dryer, the tumble of our values. So what does Venus rule? Venus rules money, abundance, love, the way we give and receive love. So Venus is the practical, personal planet, whereas like Neptune is the higher octave of that love. Venus is here and now on Earth as our embodiment. So she rules our self-worth, how we value things, material things. What do we value? So all of that, chances are, in your life has gone through a major shift. I know it has for me. And so this is the conclusion of it. And we're going to have a very Venusian event, and we're going to have a ritual and really celebrate the new codes of abundance that are coming through. There's a lot of letting go that's still happening, and you can kind of see like the plant coming through the sidewalk, like poking its head, here I am. And when you shift your perspective just a bit, you'll start to see a whole world open up. Like, yes, I used to value that, and now I value this. That's certainly part of my story. As I build the Evolving Sisters Network, so much of what I had thought or how I even worked has gone through a renovation. And I'm coming out cleaner and more simple, because Taurus is all about simplicity. Taurus wants us to have a good life. And so these codes I'm sharing today are just pointers to how to have a good life that we'll pick up on November 9 to really create your business so that you can have a good life. Because if that's not what it's producing, then there's probably other things that you can do. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying that if we make it simple in a world that's highly complicated, then we'll be able to have the time to be with nature, to be with ourselves, to meditate, to be with friends, and really enjoy the pleasures of life. And to me, that is just a huge contribution to humanity in the middle of everything that's happening. So that's tomorrow. There will be a ritual. It's very Venusian. Come wearing green or dress beautifully, make an altar. Same time, same place. Now, let's get into a few codes today I want to talk about shakti as a principle, and then I'm going to talk to you about 3 things that any business is going to need to monetize. It just sets your sights differently. Oftentimes we have our gaze on the wrong thing around business that makes it stressful. So this is the anti-overwhelm method. Are you ready? All right, so let me just read. Oh, Krista's here. Janine says, my mission is around the telling of the story of mankind, our evolution, revolution, art, music, literature, and the importance of stories. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So we went through yesterday. Well, we started with day 1, and we did a lot of releasing because there was this Scorpio stellium that has been a part of this eclipse season has brought up a lot of anger. It's brought up a lot of overwhelm. Those things are universal to humanity. So whenever you're watching this, you probably can relate. We've just been in a compacted, dense, intense time period. And that's normal for all the change that we're going through. So on day 1, we moved ourselves into trust in our bodies. Day 2, we learned some distinctions from the I Ching about how we as particularity can bring in our magic. How do we roll in a way that really serves our embodiment? Day 3 then is to take that energy and amplify that energy. So whatever system or structure that we use is in service to the energy. And I said that yesterday. We call it shakti energy. We call it life force energy. You could call it kundalini energy. It's the creative energy of the universe that flows through you, as a particularity. And as a particularity, you have preferences. You have ways that your mechanism works better. There are ways that just built into the codes, you need certain things for it to work. And everyone's different. And that's what I love about this. So we get to bring our individuality to the table. And we get to create what it is that works for us. And our shakti, the energy that flows through us, is the thing that magnetizes, but it's also the energy return. Write that down. Shakti is an energy return. What do I mean by that? You know, when we're building a business or we're working for someone else or working for a cause or raising our kids or, farming on a farm, whatever it is we're doing, building something, if we're just giving out, it's exhausting. And that's the paradigm that we probably grew up in, that you just get a job and you just do it. Doesn't matter if you like it. I was telling the story yesterday of being in the law firm. I did not like it. It's not good for me. I don't flourish there. Maybe a 1-line, although they don't really like computers, but a 1-line likes research. That would be way better than a 2-line, which is me doing that kind of work. in that way, right? There's a lot of ways to do things differently. So there are some things that bring forward our energy and some things that shut our energy down. And when we have an energy return, it's not effort. Effort, I don't mean effort like I don't apply myself and I don't actually work. No, I work, I apply myself, I sit my butt down, I do the things, but it lights me up. And so I receive from my own shakti. I receive as much as I give. That is the litmus test. That's the energy return. Are you receiving as much as you give? I know a lot of people in this day and age are talking about, oh, I want to run a retreat center. Well, great. Go work at a retreat center and see if you actually like running one. Because the mechanics of running one are really different than the idea of having a retreat center, right? How many know what I'm saying? The idea of anything is much different than the granular day-to-day of that thing. And what we're talking about here when we're talking about a mission is the granular day-to-day of that thing. Does that light you up? So if just having the concept of a retreat lights you up, then you might be a better investor in a retreat center than an owner of a retreat, an owner operator, owner manager of a retreat center. Do you get what I'm laying down? So we get to check out our ideas because our ideas are ephemeral. They exist in the ethers. They do not exist in 3D. That's why ideas under the law are not protectable, right? Because there's a dime a dozen on ideas. So move your idea into 3-space reality by taking some action on your ideas and discovering, does the Shakti flow? How does the Shakti flow? Because you're going to get information back for your mission that you thought maybe my mission should be accomplished doing X, but maybe it's Y. Maybe it's that I invest in retreats and I actually hold one over there, whatever. I hold one in Costa Rica because I want to be a part of a retreat center, but I don't want to change towels, organize cleaning staff, make up for people who didn't come and show up to their job. You know what I mean? I don't want to schedule people. I don't want to learn about online reservation systems. Oh, yeah. So now we're getting real. We're coming down to the world of 3D. And so our Shakti needs to run in the world of 3D. Otherwise, you end up hating it and then wishing you were doing something else. And that's not what we're here to do. So we get to be both visionary and we get to be on the court, on the mat, checking it out. So let me know if that point has been made around the Shakti, around the energy. And then let's move into the final piece that I want to share about the 3 keys. And I said there are 3 principles to monetizing your mission. And it's really broader than coaches, healers, visionary leaders. I'm talking entrepreneurially. And even if you run a nonprofit, that's the same thing. Even if you make herbs or make candles, it doesn't really matter. Everything is governed by these 3 basic foundational principles. And one is, well, before I even go into the list, I'm going to have you do something. I want you to draw a circle on your paper. Get a piece of paper, draw a circle. And then draw another circle, but overlap your circles so that they're like that. You know how those Venn diagrams, they have overlapping circles. And then you have that little space in the middle. Get your image together, overlap your circles. And we're going to talk about these 3 things. On the left, I want you to write the words, my story. On the right, outside of the parts where they intersect, just on the left and on the right. On the right, write the word who. And then in that middle part, I wrote my niche. You can write my business, my mission. And then I'm going to give you one other piece, but I'll do that in the end. So let's talk about how these fit together. So these circles are your story and who you serve, who's the one that will be your client or the subject of your mission. And then in that concentric overlap, those circles, the overlapping parts of those circles will be what your mission is. And we can call it a niche space. So let me flesh these out, and then I'll give you one more thing. In this, my story part, this is why I'm called to do what I'm called to do. So that's your why. What's the big why for now? Like, why do you want to do what you want to do? People ask me all the time, why did you start the Evolving Sisters Network? What's the point of it? Why do you want to do this? What's its mission and vision? And it comes out of my story. It comes out, of course it does, right? Because it came through me. So I tell the story of doing the Divine Feminine Summit and Inner Circle, and then Business Mastery, and then meeting all these mystical teachers and wanting a place, a platform, a spiritual marketplace for these mystical teachers and their courses. So that's how it came to be. That's the birth story of the Evolving Sisters Network. And it has to do with what I saw and what I think is my purpose. It has to do with when I did the summits, I noticed that I was a really good collaborator. I noticed that I work well with others. I go back to my line 2. My line 2 likes partnerships. So that all makes sense to me. So for you, come up with your version of that. What's your unique story? How have you been trained? What are the certifications you've received? And I do a lot deeper training on this. So I'm just giving you the surface because we're presencing it right now. This is where you can orient your gaze in the middle of whatever is leaving you to make room for this. Then on the other side, this is not in the overlapping middle. This is on the other side. We have the who. So who is it that's involved? And my who is you. My who is awakened, feminine, divine feminine, spiritual women who want to make a difference, who are leading with their sacred power, freeing their voices so that they can lead. That's my who. So then I have to ask myself, what does my who want? What does my who need? And so I'm in conversation to find out, what is it that you're needing right now? What is it that you want right now? And then that middle section where what I'm here to do with what my who wants overlaps. Because there are some things that my who might want that I don't do. That's not part of my story. But there's an overlapping part, and that's a smaller part, as you notice when we did those concentric circles. That's that smaller part. That's why it's called a niche. It's focused. And that's the part that starts to shape my mission. Isn't that beautiful how that works? We can complexify this. We can try to bring in all the bright, shiny objects, and we could try to make that piece bigger. But the truth is that something very focused and narrow does very, very well. We are just one person operating in time and space on this plane. So we get to be simple. And that's really one of the energies that Taurus has taught us. Simple is better. So take that with you. I'd love for you to share inside the chat whenever you're listening to this or now. Share what you have discovered about that mission, about that niche. Or you can also share your story, or you can share who it is that you serve. When we get into Sovereign CEO, if this is lighting you up, if this is where you need to go for your business, I do much deeper training on November 9th in Sovereign CEO, because I just can't cover it all here. That training is about 3 hours, and it's really well received training. It's very deep, and we get, you'll get like a financial blueprint. We'll go into the weeds on the numbers, and that will be very, very helpful for you. But for now, let's keep it at this high level. And if you missed November 9th, no worries. We will have that up so that you can watch the replay after that time. So the thing that holds all of that, I'm going to presence the third thing. I know there were 3 things there, but your niche kind of comes out of those 2 things of your story and your person that you serve. Then what's holding all of that is what I call your business model. The way that you want to make money. There are a lot of ways to make money. You know, we can sell tickets, right? We can sell things. We can put them on the internet. We can have sessions. We can sell transformational coaching over time. We can sell memberships. We can sell a course. There's so many things to sell and ways to sell, but not every way works with everything. It really depends on what your vision is, what it is you're doing, and what's the cleanest, simplest way to build a foundation that you can build upon. What I find oftentimes is that people, because it is so noisy in the space, people will kind of jump in wherever they've jumped in. Like if you're searching Instagram on Friday night, you're like, oh, that sounds good, right? And you've just jumped in. But that's not necessarily where to start. A solid foundation encompasses these 3 things. So knowing how do you want to make money? Back in the day, after I was laid off from being a lawyer during the .bomb, I was so excited and I wanted to start a spa. That was my thing. I really wanted to start a spa. That's me being in the idea mode. And then when I started to research it and investigate, I realized that a lot of the work of a spa owner was just managing employees and coming up with Groupons, like different deals to have people come in and buy a service. And that was not at all what I was thinking of when I wanted to be a spa owner. And I talked to a very large spa retreat place, and they told me, I became friends with the general manager, and he's like, yeah, we don't really make any money. I was like, what? He's like, the reason why we exist as a spa is because it draws people to the hotel piece, and the hotel is what makes money. But it's worth it for the company to have a spa because that's why people want to be there. Oh, so that's an example of business model. And when you work the numbers, especially if you're new, you might work the numbers with certain assumptions that are not valid. So I was out there validating my assumptions about how does a thing like this actually work. And so, as you know, I did not start a spa. I go to them. I did not start one. And that's because the business model didn't align with the activities of what I wanted to do on a daily basis. And so again, I'll teach more about this in Sovereign CEO, but for now we are complete here in our monetizing our mission. And there's a way to do it simply. I really want to stress that because I know we're in a period of such incredible opulence and opportunity, and it all sounds so good. And then we get overwhelmed and defeated and quit. So during these last few days of this eclipse, or whenever you're joining us, consider yourself given some time to contemplate. What are you really up for? What do you have energy for? What's a yes for you in your embodiment? What would you like to explore? And chances are, and the way I teach it, it's part of something you've already done before, but you're going to take it and dust it off and shine it for the next iteration of all of us as we evolve. Because our path is not haphazard. It's not accidental. It's not random. Remember that there are things that you've done that later you weave in, but maybe you don't see all the connections until you're taken through a process which will help you see the connections and see more clearly what it is that you have all along been trained to do. That's part of my specialty and my magic that I would love to share with you. And we'll start that on Sovereign CEO. And for now, I'm going to conclude our session. Thank you, Maud. I'm glad it was clear. Colleen says, this is so powerful and profound. I can apply it to my life. It makes sense for why I feel depleted. Yes, yes. Yeah, the old paradigm is a depleting paradigm, right? Nobody ever asked you when, nobody ever asked me in law school, hey, does this light you up? No, never asked me. I actually loved law school, loved it. It did light me up. But then when I went to corporate practice, it did not light me up, not happy, because the rigidity of the structure that really didn't care that we were unique beings and didn't call forward our genius was just something I couldn't say yes to. And when I look back on it, did I know the language that I'm saying right now? I did not. But something inside me was moving me in a different direction. And it looked like a lot of breakdown. It was like a lot of uncertainty and a lot of trying this, trying that, but just hanging with the process. Here I am. And there's so much more to create and so much more that I get to grow into and become. But it starts here in the embodiment. So let's end our session with our bodies. Let's bring the energy back into our awareness of I'm going to put my hand here, of our womb space, of our heart. Close your eyes. Tuck your chin in so that your spine is straight and that you can feel the connection between your sacrum and your crown. And just imagine that light flowing, giving back. It's up and then it's down your spine, up your spine, down your spine. Just flowing in this circle, lighting you up, opening you to something that's new. And the message for you right here, right now is, dear, dear child, dear, dear one, I have held you since the beginning. I am with you now. Everything is in divine order. Allow your perception to adjust to this new reality and see the new opportunity, the new world that's right here, right now. Take a deep breath into your belly, extending your belly so that it really feels your hand. Exhale, bring your belly in toward your spine. Do that again. A deep belly breath. And then move that energy up to your rib cage, move that energy up to your heart center through your breath, coming back into your bodies. Letting go of even everything you've heard, just trusting that it's going to find its place. And the time for right now is to be quiet, to contemplate, to allow a very new frequency to come through. And then flutter open your eyes and return to our collective space. And tomorrow, remember, at 12 p.m., we're going to do our Venus activation. And really, she is all about supporting us. She's the divine feminine in the astrological archetypes. She's the divine feminine. And she's been here all along. She knows that we've had breakdowns. She's part of midwifing us to another elevated way of being. And so we're going to call upon her and receive her codes for our abundance, our wealth, the way we give and receive love, our self-worth, all those things that we have struggled with. She's declaring that with this eclipse, we are complete and we get to step in and we get to live from that from now on. So join the activation tomorrow at 12 o'clock here. I'll see you then. And I want to answer Deepa's question. How did you transition from corporate to starting to make enough money through something that flows through you? Yeah, I'm channeling the last part for myself. This is feminine and trust as well. Yeah, so I know that you're registered for Sovereign CEO, and I am going to go through all of that. It wasn't, like all teachers, we are teaching something that we learned the hard way. So I learned a lot the hard way because there weren't things like this back in the day. I mean, I was laid off in the early 2000s. And so there wasn't stuff like this happening, 20 something years ago. And so what I teach is a result of the process that I went through to find my way. I don't think it takes a lot. I think that I would offer to get supported, to do it this coterminously, do it at the same time. And then there will be a jumping off point when you're ready to go full time with your work in the world. And I'll share more about that process as we do Sovereign CEO together and really get granular. But just know that so many people are making this transition. It's doable. And sometimes we have to duct tape a few things together to get there. But when we really feel like the energy is returning to us, we are juiced up and sourced to do it. And when we have the right steps, we're not, lost out there in a world of massive options. So that's what I'm going to offer for you as a next step, and for anyone else as a next step in this conversation, because it's just happening. It's happening on a large scale. And that's because the transition from our enslaved selves, that's what the Gene Keys in human design would call our enslaved selves, where it didn't matter what we did. We just did it to be a part of the cog in the wheel. That's how we were trained. That's how my parents lived. That's how they trained me. That stuff we are shedding, and more people want to step into their authenticity. They want to step into a relationship with their work that has meaning. And from here to there, how do they, your clients, do it? Well, they're doing it the same way you're doing it. They're getting support. They're getting help. They're getting coaching. They're joining masterminds. They're doing all kinds of things to get support, because as Einstein said, The same consciousness that created that thing before can't create the new thing. So we get to constantly reinvent ourselves and catch ourselves when we're living in the old consciousness. And that's what midwives are for. That's what teachers are for. That's what healers are for. That's what visionary leaders and guides are for. And that's why an army of you is being called forward to do this work. And you have to make money at it. I don't know how else you're going to survive. So you get to make money at it. To me, the money game is a fun game. It can be a really fun game because it feels good when somebody wants what you have and pays you for it. It feels super good. I love receiving money. It's not my sole motivation, of course, because there's like other things I could do. But this combines all the things that I love in an expression of who I am. And some things are free, some things are $27, some things are $2,000, some things are $15,000. So people get to come into my world where they would like to enter my world. Okay, you already left corporate a long time ago. Yep. Having blocks to really earning money. Yeah, and receiving, doing what you love. Yeah, may also be part of the process to surrender. Yeah. Well, here's what I'm going to assign for you and others who resonated with your share, Deepa. And that is, you're already registered, so we're going to get into the weeds later. For now, let's use this energy to really clear the old stuff out. Like catalog it. What are some old beliefs that you've been operating under? And not as work or drudgery, but as really just a witness. And you don't even have to notice what the new beliefs are, just noticing the old ones because they're already leaving. That's happening to me like almost hourly, it's happening on its own. So just notice that it's already happening. Just the fact that you texted that or shared that in the comments, it's already happening. So take the next few days and do our Venus activation tomorrow, because we will tomorrow really work with these old codes and letting them go as we enter into the eclipse, which is that final shutting to open up the space for the new. It's a huge watershed moment. And I don't know how else to say that except that it's a huge watershed moment. And some of the world will still be playing the old game, but there's a lot of us who are going to evolve and elevate. So that's all I'll say for now. There's a lot here. Contemplate, sit with things, be in a relaxed, meditative place to receive whatever it is you need to receive. So let's rub our hands together as we gather all the positive energy that we have generated here through our collective attention on deeper alignment with this beautiful, radiant energy that lives within us. And let's beam that out. Just imagine that the sun is shining through both of your hands and beaming that out. And may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. Namaste. I'll see you tomorrow for the activation. I can't wait. It's going to be an epic day. And then the actual eclipse happens on Saturday. So that's the time we're going to get that reboot. So plan to be in some meditation space and some quiet space to receive. All right, lots of love.